Hello to my modern American literature classes. So we've taken a look at Walt Whitman's life. Now we're going to look at his writing and explore the answer to this question. Why is Walt Whitman's writing still studied in American literature classes today? Hopefully by the end of this lesson, you'll have a better idea of why that's the case. So here are just some details about Walt Whitman's writing. He had a number of well-known publications. Leaves of Grass, which is what Song of Myself is from, which was also published multiple times during his life. And I hope you notice that the green color of this presentation is to kind of reflect that Leaves of Grass theme. Um, he also published the Drum Taps collection, in which he tried to depict the lives of the Civil War soldiers that he cared for and so deeply cared for during his time serving as a nurse with the Civil War. Two of his most famous poems, O Captain, My Captain, which may come from a particular movie from the 90s. If anybody wants to email me and tell me what movie that's from, there might be a little bonus point available for you. So, O Captain, My Captain is one of the famous poems that Walt Whitman published, and then also When Lilacs Last in the Dooryard Bloomed, which is a tribute to Lincoln, President Lincoln, after he died. So he had a lot of well-known publications, and that's not even including any of his prose publications or his journalistic writings. But because of his poetry primarily, he was very widely respected by everyone from Ralph Waldo Emerson to Henry David Thoreau, Alfred Lord Tennyson, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Oscar Wilde. Some of these people, came from England to visit him in America, which at the time would have been, a much more difficult trip without planes and that sort of thing. And then also Mark Twain and John Greenleaf Whittier, who you read about in the biographical headnote about the kindness that they showed to him when he was near the end of his life. So he was very widely respected, but he was also widely influential. And there's a list of writers that he influenced on page 21 of, of the biographical headnote. And also, there's a little bit more mention of that at the end of the headnote. He sort of was criticized because he just completely did away with how poetry had been written in the eras previous to his writing. He created the free verse form, which is just what it sounds like. There's no meter, there's no rhyme, there's no rhyme scheme. So it was kind of a picture of the American ideal, the picture of freedom in some ways. But he also showed a lot of freedom, not just in the form, but also in what he wrote about and the language that he used, the diction that he chose was much more earthy. Some of the scenes that he depicted would probably fall in the category of scandalous for some people. And some of his writing has been banned and censored over the years. But he didn't shy away from those topics. And initially, that was troubling to some critics, but eventually, especially as he continued to write and continued to grow in popularity, he was kind of rediscovered towards the end of his life, or I guess elevated to a higher degree of respect by the critics. He's often viewed as the poet of democracy, and hopefully you'll see that in Song of Myself. Notice the people that he is describing in this poem. And notice also that he is connecting himself and his own experience with every other person. So at the beginning of Song of Myself, I celebrate myself and sing myself, and what I assume you shall assume. For every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. So there's just this leveling of the playing field, so to speak, right at the beginning of that poem. Kind of just the shared experience of life and the value of every different person's experience. So, why is Walt Whitman's writing still studied in American literature? It's because he revolutionized American poetry. He took what had been done before and completely changed it, so much so that one postage stamp was created to commemorate him back in the 40s, and then I think that there's another postage stamp, if not more, that have been created since then. But I did not include them in this PowerPoint because they are not open access sources. So I hope you have a better feel for why Walt Whitman is important. And again, there is my works cited list that cites the source that I used for all of this information.